Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on the PA CareerLink website. My name is Nick. I'm an instructor at PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley, and today I'll be talking to you about the job search functionality and tools available on the PA CareerLink website. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we want to make sure that we're on this website you see before you to get started. This is the sort of login homepage of the PA CareerLink website. You can access this page by using this URL, so feel free to pause the video and write this down or take a picture or whatever you find best helps you out. You can also simply open any search engine like Google or Microsoft Edge or anything like that, type in PA CareerLink, and it should pop you up with PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley. Just again, make sure you have that .pa.gov to make sure you know you're on our site. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign in. If you don't remember your login information, you're not sure what this login information even is, feel free to call our office at PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley, and our staff will assist you getting this information. I will continue under the assumption that if you're watching this, you have this information already. So I'll sign in. We can close this stuff out. It's not exactly important at the moment. And now we can see our little home page here. This might look familiar to some of you. It might have been a while for some of you. This might be totally new for some of you, and that's all okay. So here we have the main thing we looked at here is our job search engine here. And you can see this job search engine works like any other job search engine you might have. You have some other things on here, including job recommendations. It's nothing there right now because, again, I sort of cleared this out to make it for the example. We have that stuff in there. We have our inbox here, so you might get correspondence from PA CareerLink staff or employers or anything like that. So make sure you're checking this. If you see that little number pop up to 1 or anything above that, make sure you get what's in there. We have alerts here. We have our calendar, and this is actually going to correlate with this calendar over here. So if you go into this calendar and add any of these events to your calendar, it will pop up here. You can sort of see how you can jump back and forth between upcoming events that are general to calendar events. You have your resumes that we'll go over in just a second, and other documents you might have available on your website here. So since we are on here for job searching in particular, before we get too much into the job search engine down here, we do want to take a look at this tab up here. This is My Job Search. So if we hover over that, this little drop-down menu is going to pop up, and we see we have a lot of options here as far as My Job Search is considered. So we have My PA CareerLink resume. That's sort of the generic CareerLink resume that we use for everyone here. We have the resume list. So if you upload multiple resumes, maybe different resumes per kinds of jobs or industries or whatever it might be, you can see all of those here. Search jobs will bring you to another example of the job search engine you see down here. Save searches, we'll talk about that in just a few moments, and we'll see how that works. We'll also talk about saved jobs, job applications, and job search activities during the course of this video. Browse for jobs by category is just another way to search for jobs like the job search engine below, but again, it is as it is. It's browsing for jobs by category. But today we are talking about making things more efficient when it comes to your job search and more organized, so we're probably going to avoid that a bit today. So with any job search, it comes down to starting with typing in some information. So we want to look for a job by job title, keyword, or company, as well as by city, state, or zip code. There's a little blue text here that says search tips. If you click that, you'll see that it's going to give you examples on what will happen if you enter different kinds of keywords. So for example, if you enter driver, your results will include jobs that contain the word driver, and it will tell you how it works over here. So I do recommend to look over this on your own time because I won't exactly review this kind of information in this video, but feel free to review that and so you have a good understanding of how this system works. But anyway, let's jump right into the job search. So let's say I was looking for a medical assistant job there. So I want to type in medical assistant. You can see it's going to give you little examples here of what you can search for. We'll just keep it at medical assistant today, but if you wanted to look for other examples, you can have that in there. Then we'll go to the location box here. I typically like to have both the city and state when I type in there. So let's say I type in Allentown, PA. You don't have to have that there. If you type in just Allentown, it should be fine, but it's sort of a force of habit thing for me, so I like to keep it in there as is. Then I can click search. So we can see here that it gave us a lot of different jobs. If we scroll down here, we see there's a different scroll bar, so we'll have to scroll down in this area or use the scroll bar or arrows itself. We can see that there are a lot of different jobs it gave us for what we searched up. And that search we gave was fairly generic. We only gave, a job title and then the area. So it's only looking for jobs that have medical assistant in the title within 25 miles of Allentown, PA. And we can see that gave us about 348 job descriptions, I should say. But what if that's not specific enough for us? What if we want to make it a little more specific to us? That's where these filter options come in here. So for example, maybe 25 miles is a little too far. Let's try 10 miles. You can see that little refresh animation there. And now if you look right here, where we had 300 some before, now we have 252. So it will take jobs away that don't qualify under your search filters. We can look at the date the job was posted. So instead of all, maybe we want to do something a little more recent. Let's try 14 days. Again, it's going to refresh, and that 252 went down to 59. So there you go. You're getting a much more efficient job search, and that's not a bad thing to have less results, because that means you're wasting less time searching through all the other jobs that may not wholly apply to you. So that's okay if you're getting less and less. That's what we want, if anything else. We can pick the county, we can pick the city, we can pick the job title if we didn't want to get something more specific here. The company, if we want to apply to a specific company, estimated salary, the type of job, whether it's full-time or part-time or not specified, occupation category, occupation itself, job source, where it's coming from. We'll talk about what these two things mean in just a little bit of time. The shift type, day, night, evening, and then anything else that might pop up with your job search. So you can see there's a lot of different examples that you may want to look for, a lot of different filters you may want to have to make sure you're doing your most efficient job search. And that actually brings up to one of our tabs we talked about earlier, which is the saved searches. So what is a saved search? Well, that is when you are searching for a job here and you decide, hey, I like searching for jobs using these filters, medical assistant, Allentown, PA, 10 miles in the last 14 days. Let's say that's my preferred way to search for my kinds of jobs. Well, if I didn't want to put this information in every time, what I can do is go over here to this floppy disk icon and click right next to it where it says Save Search. It's going to bring up this little box here, and then I can have a name in here, so you can change that. I typically like adding the date to what I'm adding, so I know when I go back to my searches where this search sort of started. So I know that started on the 15th of December of the year 2020. I can receive email updates, but more importantly, I can receive job recommendations. And that's what we saw in the beginning of this video. Remember, if you recall, that there were no job recommendations in there because I sort of cleared this dummy account out for the sake of the example. But now if I click yes to make yes is showing and click save, not only will that job search be saved to my account, but if I hop home real quick by clicking this little house symbol, I can see now that job recommendations is full of different medical assistant postings that I was looking at previously. And this job recommendations page will change based on what you searched. It doesn't directly correlate with your saved searches. It correlates with what you search in general on the website. So for example, if I looked up truck driver tomorrow, it's going to start giving me truck driver jobs in my job recommendation area there. So keep that in mind. So let's say you did that, you had your saved search, maybe you applied to a few jobs, now it's the next day and you want to go back to your saved search without having to put all that information in again. How can we do that? Well, again, where was saved searches originally? It was right here, saved searches. So we click right there. We can see that our search is there. And again, I like having the date there so I know that that was the one I put in there, because sometimes maybe I'll have another medical assistant search with different search filters in there and I need to differentiate the two. So to get back into here, what we can do is click Update Search. And you can see it's going to take us right back to that screen we were on just a moment ago, and all of our filters are back in here. So With that out of the way, we understand how to save job searches. How can we save jobs? Well, this is actually a pretty easy process. Let's say I'm looking at this job here and I'm reviewing the information and I'm saying to myself, you know what? I think I need to update my resume or update my cover letter or make some calls or network a bit before I feel like applying to this job. But I don't want to lose it because I want to make sure I can get back to it very easily. Simply enough, there is going to be this little star symbol here, and you can click Save Job. And then you can see the star is now gold, and the text has changed to Remove Save Job. And if you actually notice right above here, the star symbol actually has 1 in there, and look, there's that job right in there. That's really great to see. If I go back to my search results, it's going to load up again. And you can see again, there are even stars right here. So maybe if you're just quickly looking at jobs, you can simply just star jobs as you see fit. And again, it's going to track it onto your save searches up here. So whenever you're thinking about your saved jobs, look to those stars, save them or go to them, whatever seems best to you. And again, one of the areas here is saved jobs, which will bring us to this section where we can find those jobs again. There's some other things we want to talk about when it comes to these jobs on here. You might have noticed as I've been going through my examples here that a lot of these jobs have this PA symbol here, the Keystone Symbol there. And if I keep scrolling down, eventually I'm going to find that the jobs stop having that symbol. So what does that symbol mean as I look for a job here? Why does this one not have a symbol and this one does? What are the differences between those two types of jobs? Well, the ones with the Keystone Symbol are jobs that are specifically approved by PA CareerLink staff to be on the PA CareerLink website. So a PA CareerLink staff member had to work with, in this case, Lehigh Valley Physicians Group to approve this job on our website. What about this one then? Where did this one come from? What is this kind of job called? So we refer to these jobs that don't have that Keystone Symbol as job feed jobs. And there's a couple different ways to know what the differences are between the two of them. First and foremost, there is no Keystone Symbol next to the title. We know it's not a PA CareerLink job. There's also the source here, which is what we saw earlier in our filters. We have this little link right here, this little website link. And more importantly, we have this ID number where it has JF in front of it for job feed. You can see here up in the PA CareerLink job here, there is no JF, it's simply just the number. So that's a couple different ways to know which is a job feed job and which is a PA CareerLink approved job. Now these jobs are still approved to be on our website. Don't think that these are quote unquote bad jobs by any means. These jobs were just pulled from company websites as opposed to being specifically put on the website by a partnered PA CareerLink employer. So there's still good jobs to apply to, still apply to them, but they are going to be jobs that were pulled from company websites, so keep that in mind. And there's some other differences when it comes to these different kinds of jobs when it comes to tracking that we'll talk about in just a few moments. But let's actually look at a job feed job and see how these work. So you can see that a job feed job doesn't take you to that job description we saw earlier with the PA CareerLink job where we stayed on the PA CareerLink website. We actually went directly to Aerotech's website in this case because, again, it is a job feed job. If I try this with another one, the same thing's going to happen. It's going to take me out of the website. It's going to give me this little redirect notice, and now I'm on, again, Aerotech's website in this case. And again, just to give you a reminder, if I click on a PA CareerLink job, it's actually going to keep me on the PA CareerLink website. Many of these jobs may have you apply on their website anyway, but keep that in mind. That's the main difference between these two kinds of jobs. So we went over how to save jobs, we went over our filtered searches, we went over the difference between PA CareerLink jobs and job feed jobs. What else can we go over? Well, a big part of this training here today is going to be about tracking and monitoring your own job search. And there's a great little resource in here to do that. So let's say you're doing some job search. Now you want to look at what you have been doing over the course of your tenure on PA CareerLink, if you will. What we want to go up to is My Job Search again. It's going to be our home place for a number of different areas on here. So with under My Job Search, we have our search jobs, we have our save searches, we have our save jobs. We have these two areas on here, job applications and job search activities. If I click on job applications, we can see that this is going to show us all of my applications on here and the dates they were submitted on and all the other information on here. And again, you can see the differences between a job feed job and a registered employer job. You can see it has that little symbol and says registered employer. Job feed jobs have this general link that we have for them. And that's a great way to look at our applications specifically. But what if we want to look at all of our job search activities? Well, we want to go to job search activities. So we'll click right there. And we see that we have all these little dials that have our job search activities on here. Now you may be saying to yourself, especially if you haven't used a website, I always go on here and I can't find everything I've done. It's acting as if I haven't done anything. Well, make sure you change the dates here. You can see that December 13th to 15th is only a 2-day date range. Not exactly the most expansive date range out there. So what we want to do is click this down arrow and pick what we want. We have some options here with this week, last week, or all. We can also put in custom ranges by typing in the dates in particular here, or we can use this calendar symbol. It's going to bring us this little calendar. We can click on the dates here to make a specific range. That being said, typically at CareerLink, we recommend that you just always search by all, because it's going to show you everything you want to see as far as your job search activities are concerned. And typically the thing I like to do is click on all activities here. And I go down to the bottom here and I can see all the things I've been doing on my job search activities. Now, one thing in here that might be a little confusing if you haven't picked it up yet, you can see that there are dates here. And it goes 12/15, 12/15, 12/9, 12/10. Now, why is 12/9 coming after 12/10, all these 12/10 dates? Well, there's not really a rhyme or reason as to why that happens, but we have figured out a little solution to fix this little issue. If you want to be very organized and very in order, what we can do is we go up to this date arrow here. You can see it's pointed down right now. If we click that there, the page will redirect. We go back down here. Now it's gone from the most recent jobs to the earliest jobs we applied to. So 2013, 2016. I don't know where this 1961 job came from or job fair came from. But we want to look at our most recent jobs again. So what we do is click that up arrow back to a down arrow. It refreshes. And now, for whatever reason, that job that was on 12/9, that's back where it's supposed to be. So again, there's no rhyme or reason as to why that happens, but please make sure that you pay attention to that if you want to have your jobs in order. There is some other stuff in here as well, where it says Followup Date and Actions. We're going to go over that in just a moment when we talk about these different jobs in here. But essentially what those two means is Followup Date is the date you set in many cases for a follow-up. So you can see here that this job has a follow-up date of 12/17. So I applied that job on the 10th, and 12/17 was coming around the corner, so I need to make sure I follow up within 2 days. And this area here is going to be actions. You can see that there is a check mark here. Now, this check mark is here because this is a job website that I visited. If I were to click this check mark, it would say marked as applied and give me a job application mark here. You can kind of see how that works down here below. But let me show you that more specifically. Because let's say you did visit a job website and you visited one of those job feed jobs off of CareerLink websites. So CareerLink won't track that job in here. You can see that PA CareerLink jobs are tracked here, but not job applications otherwise. So how do we track those job feed jobs that we apply to? Well, under all of these dials here, there's this Add New Activity button. If I click that right there, it's going to give me a number of different activities to add with this drop-down arrow. Primarily, we'll be talking about job applications, but there's a number of different other areas you can add. Particularly job search is one of the great areas that is sort of a catch-all section, as I like to refer to it as. Because job search can be a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be just searching for jobs. It can be research for a job interview or research for a job application. Job fairs and networking. Again, networking can be LinkedIn communications or going to a, in this case, in this time and place, a Zoom networking event, anything like that. So don't be afraid to really play around with these different activities here and make sure you're tracking everything that you are doing. So let's do a job application just to see how those two functionalities we talked about just beforehand work. So I click job application, I'll click continue. And then I can see I get this little job application field here. So I want to make sure I fill out some information. You want to pay attention. It might be a little hard to see, but some of these areas have this little asterisk symbol next to them. That information is absolutely required as far as this information goes, but it does help to put in a lot of information on there anyway. So let's say I did a job, feed job, and it was off of the website, and I want to refer to it now. Or let's say I just did a job search off of the website, generally speaking, and I want to refer back to it now and put it on my log. So let's say the job activity, the application was today. Let's call the employer maybe XYZ Inc. We can put in a contact person. So if you met a recruiter, if there's a recruiter's name on there, you can put them in there. I'll just put Nick Smith for now. What job title was it? Maybe it was a medical assistant job like I was searching it beforehand. If you have a job reference number, you can put that in there right now. We don't exactly need that. If you had any contact, you can put that in there, and you can see that you can click on multiple versions of this. So you can put an email or website, in-person, telephone, so on and so forth. Descriptions are great. Website, maybe it was on, let's say, Indeed.com. If you had an employer email, you can put that in there. The employer address line, or address lines maybe. Let's say it was in Allentown, PA. Maybe it was in that zip code there. There's a phone number where you put that information in there. Again, very helpful for you to track because we want to make sure we have, everything in there that we need, especially if there's some sort of extension number in there as well. We can put in something like that. Outcome, result, and now we get to this follow-up date we saw earlier. So we want to pay attention to this, and I recommend that you do this for just about every job you can do because it's going to keep you on track of your own job search. So if I applied to this job on the 15th, let's say my follow-up date is 1 week from today. Let's say it is the 22nd. And again, this little calendar came up because I clicked this little calendar symbol down below, but you can fill in this information manually in the boxes. Let's say my follow-up date is the 22nd. Let's click save to see if it's going to let us go. Sometimes if you forgot to add in a necessary piece of information, it won't let you go, but I think we're going to be okay with this here today. I'll click save. My job search activity has been saved. Awesome. So now we're back on this all activities section here. If I go back down here, we can see that my XYZ Inc. job was there and saved. And again, my follow-up date is there. Now, one thing that's nice about adding these jobs directly on, or adding these job applications or otherwise activities directly on your little list here using that add new activity feature is you can edit them. So let's say let's jump a week from today and say I do come back with them and I need to have another follow-up date, maybe later on, maybe another week after this date. I can go back in there and change that to, let's say, the 29th of December now to have a new follow-up date. I click save. Okay. And then look right there, all changed, all great. And that's really great to see for what we're doing here because it's going to keep us on track with our own job search, which is ultimately what we want to do. And again, we can also delete these things. If this was something we didn't want on there, we can go ahead and click that X and that will get rid of that specific entry entirely. And again, this check mark is going to add a sort of application marker for us. So I click that little check mark there. Now that job website visited says marked as applied. I would still recommend, even if you do this, I would recommend adding that job in there in particular to have a job application in there. So if you're doing something in the future and you want to track your job applications, it will show up. Because if I go to job applications here, it does show up here for me, which is good. But we just want to make sure that we are tracking everything best we can. So I've gotten in such a habit of just adding job applications here automatically for myself here. And then we go back to all of our settings here. Click all activities. We'll do the redirect again just to make sure they're in the right order. I've just gotten into that habit of adding those applications in particular, but it will add it for you nonetheless. And really pay attention to the activity type over here, because again, if it said just job website visited, that may not be exactly what we want. We make sure we have that application in there. And especially for those job feed jobs, because again, it's not going to automatically track those jobs for you. only the PA CareerLink jobs where it says, PA CareerLink job application, only will that track for you. And also, speaking of those PA CareerLink jobs, it will track your job searches, but make sure you do track those jobs in particular as well, or make sure you track those jobs in particular as well, because sometimes it will show you your PA CareerLink job search, and let's say it was one of those jobs where if I go back to my job search over here, and I go to my save searches, click that, let it load, go into a medical assistant job here, and apply, you can see that I'm still going to another website here. This is a PA CareerLink job, but I am applying on Lehigh Valley Health Network's website here. This job application will not be tracked unless I put it in manually. Again, let's say I did all this and I applied. This information is not going back to our website. It's going on to Lehigh Valley's website. So if I go to my job search activities, and let's say even just click applications at this point, do my little redirect there out of force of habit, or all activities, excuse me, you can see there that that job, let's say I hypothetically applied to it, isn't going to show up there. And even if I did actually apply to it right now, it would not show up there because it only is going to show up as a job search. So make sure you are applying or adding in those information bits in there, those applications, using that Add New Activity button anytime you're not doing an application directly on PA CareerLink's website. So that is quite a bit of information on the job search functionalities of this website. My last thing I would recommend for you to do is I talk about these resume examples up here in the top here. Make sure you do have other resumes uploaded to your resume list here, because we do have the My PA CareerLink resume both here and right here. But ideally, you want to apply with a Word document resume. This is not a Word document as is, so make sure you have a Word document resume through Resume List. The way you can do that is you have to have the Word document available on the device that you're on. You click Upload. You can type in the name of the file. I usually like having everything, let's say, as my first and last name, comma resume. Accept that, choose file, and it should open up to have you go in there. So make sure you do have a Word document resume on here so you can use it to apply for other applications. If I go back here to the home page, remember we have our home page here with our inbox where you might get correspondence from PA CareerLink staff or employers, different alerts for maybe job recommendations or job alerts, your own calendar, job recommendations, your resumes, and your documents. And again, that calendar information is available over here. You can see upcoming events with this tab here, and you can add those events to your calendar and see them over here. And again, let's say I wanted to add this event. I click on it there, and I click register and register for that event. Once I register for that event, it will be available on my calendar, which is back here on the home page. So to round things out, I really hope this little video was helpful for you. If some of the job search activity stuff was a bit confusing for you, feel free to either rewind this video, or there will also be a PDF document below this video available for your download or view to help you walk you through that process if you don't want to listen to my voice the entire time you were job searching. So please use that PDF. It was created by our team of recruiters. They're all very knowledgeable people and they do excellent work at CareerLink. So please use that PDF if you feel the need to. But otherwise, I'm going to end this way and all of my live recordings. I hope you're all staying safe, staying healthy, and otherwise, keep on keeping on, everyone.